Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain, and today I'm going to be reviewing and showing you how to play and talking about RRR, which is also known as Regality versus Religion Revolution. So I'm going to get into this in just a second, but first I want to say, if you're in a position to and like to help out the channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below, where you can get access to some videos early, as well as behind-the-scenes videos, and even the ability to request review and tutorials to your favorite classic games. In addition, if you'd like to get some cool gamer gear, t-shirts, mugs, etc. There is a link to my Teespring store in the description down below. Go check it out. We've got lots of cool stuff there for sale. Now, first I want to give a big thank you to XV Games, who sent me this copy of RRR. This game was published by XV and OneDraw jointly. And this game was designed by Senji Kanai and Hayato Kisaragi. I hope I have pronounced those names correctly. You can feel free to correct me down below if I've mispronounced them. This game is for 2 players for 10 to 30 minutes and for ages 9 and up. Now I'm going to start right there. 2-player game, not much to talk about there. It is exactly 2 players. The 10 to 30 minutes is a pretty good estimate. Actually, 30 might be a little high. This is more of like a 10 to 15 for me. The game goes really quick, especially once you've played it once or twice. And as for the ages 8 and up, that's pretty spot on. It's not super complicated. So this is sort of the sequel game to RR, which I had played in the past and used to be released here in the United States, which was just Regality versus Religion. This is kind of a upgraded sort of sequel to that. Now, this particular edition from XV Games and OneDraw is only for sale in Italy and Japan. So if you want to get your hands on this version, and you are in the Americas, like United States, Canada, Mexico, somewhere in South America, Caribbean, etc., yeah, you're going to need to find an online retailer to send you a copy in either Japan or Italy, or you might be able to contact one of the companies, XV Games or OneDraw, directly to see if they can send you a copy. Because right now, there's not an edition of this being printed for sale over here in the Americas. Like I said, this one is just for sale in Japan and Italy. But FYI, on Board Game Geek, they do have the rules to RRR, at least to the last version that was released, that you can read. It is for download on Board Game Geek. I'm going to put a link in the description down below so you can check out the full rules. I'm going to show you how a game of this is played in this video. And also, you know what? I'm going to go over right now all of the differences between the version that was on Board Game Geek and this version, because there actually have been some major updates to this that are not represented by those rules. So I want to draw attention to those. I'm going to put a little time code here where you can skip ahead if if you're not interested in checking out those updates right now. But for those of you who have already played RRR in its previous iterations and want to know what's different, or for those of you who are checking out those rules and have ordered a copy and want to know what's different from those rules, stay here and I'm going to explain all of the differences. So, the Hermit was changed to be the inverse of the Sage from its previous ability. The Storyteller was added to be the inverse of the Fortune Teller. When I say the inverse, I mean where one might affect cards orthogonally adjacent. Inverse would affect diagonally adjacent is usually what I'm referring to when I'm saying it's the inverse. The Necromancer does what the Hermit used to do in the rules that are posted on Board Game Geek. The Dragon was upgraded to be arrows in every direction, all filled in, so it affects all cards in every direction. The Revolutionary does what the Dragon used to do. The Merchant, which was not in the previous edition, allows you to draw the card off the top of the deck of those that were not dealt out at the game. So those are all the major differences. In addition, this version of the game has a advanced mode in it. Now, the advanced mode is a very interesting thing where instead of having some sort of board or fold out little paper board like they've had in previous editions of RRR, this one has you deal out these land cards, and you can still do it in the way that it was done as a basic mode, where you just have the land cards in a 3x3 grid, and that's the board you play on. But there's an advanced mode, which we're going to show during the tutorial, where you shuffle these up and you deal out numbers, and it makes all of the the spaces on the board different valued because they're the value of the numbers. So therefore, the board will always be different, and there are certain cards that are more valuable than others. So then, of course, we have the Citizen. If you've ever played any version of RR or RRR, you know that the Citizen is given to the player who goes first, and he has no ability. We have the cards for each side, which are the cards for each faction are totally symmetrical. They have a version of themselves for the other faction. So this is the blue, which is the religion faction. So here is the cathedral for them, and the cardinal. The artwork on these is really nice. I love the production. They are linen finish cards, which is great. Which, even though these particular ones, the faction cards, don't have to be shuffled, you do have to shuffle, of course, the board cards, the land cards, and the neutral card deck. So it is nice to have them linen finish for that. And here is the red faction, which is the Regality. I'm going to show you a few of the artwork and symbols for those because they are just absolutely beautiful cards. Really love the look of these. The style of artwork is very quirky and unique. I love the filigree that goes around the symbol. The symbols are very clear and different from each other. There are a lot of them, so it can be a little easy in your first few games to get confused. But then you just go back and reference, what does this one do? I don't really remember. You'll be fine. Then we have the neutral cards, which are the ones that will change up from game to game. I do recommend you double check what each of these do when you deal out 5 neutral cards, because they can be quite different from each other. Some of these are very unique. Like, for instance, here's the pirate, which has a symbol that is unique to him because he allows you to destroy a card that is even protected. So he can destroy a cathedral or a castle. He's the only card in the game that can do that. Here is the Sage, which allows you to make 2 cards adjacent to him protected. There are 2 cards in here that can do that. Some very unique abilities. I just want to show a few interesting ones. Here's the Dragon. The Dragon is super powerful because he can turn all cards all the way in every direction from him. If you play him in the middle of the board, he can affect every card on the board, which is pretty amazing. That being said, so can the Revolutionary if he's played in the middle of the board, though the Dragon is more effective if you can play him on a side or a corner because he can still affect more cards than the Revolutionary could. And I want to show, this is one really interesting one, the Death card. This card is fantastic. I really like the Death card. If you play the Death card out and whoever winds up with the Death card facing in their allegiance will automatically lose regardless of how many points you've gotten. So here's a look at all the types of cards that you've got out here. Now we're going to head over to the table and I'm going to run you through a game to show you how this plays. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to talk about how this game feels, and I'm going to rate it and review it, and we're going to get a second opinion from Lynn. Okay, so here you can see us set up to play a game of RRR. So I am on this side of the table playing the red cards, which is the Regality.
I'm over here playing blue, which is the Religion.
So now I will be going first, and because I'm going first, I was also dealt the card for the Citizen. You see, the Citizen is given to whoever plays first, and they must play it first, and he has no ability on his card. He is just a card that is played and will be allied to me when I play him, but has no effect on the game board other than that. Now, to fully set up the game, we each place the rest of our cards on our side. They are public knowledge. This is a complete information game. We are going to be playing the advanced mode. So for the advanced mode, we shuffled up these cards and dealt them out with the number sides up. Now, each of these have numbers in the corners, which are going to be their value at the end of the game. And the lower value cards, all the way up to number 5, also have symbols that show the castle and the cathedral in their corners. And that's because those are the only cards that the castle and the cathedral can be played on, so that whoever goes second can't just jump on the 9 value card with their castle or cathedral and steal those 9 points right away. It's a little more nuanced than that. Then you deal out the 5 neutral cards that you're going to be using from the deck. The deck may be needed depending on what cards came out, because there is a card in this deck that allows you to take the top card from the deck and add it to your area, though that one did not come up. So in this case, the deck will actually not be needed for the rest of the game. Now we're going to run you through a few turns, and as we play each card, we're going to explain what the symbol on the card means and what it does. and we'll show you how this goes. We may even go through a complete game. So I am going first, which means I have to play the citizen. So to start with, you know what? I'm going to put the citizen on the 8 card here and take that over for myself.
I'm going to put the temple on the 5.
The 5, that's interesting. I'm going to grab the, here she is the, I believe she's the Enchantress. In Italian it is Enchantress, I believe is how that is pronounced. Now I'm going to put her on the 9, and she has this really interesting ability. We forgot to mention here. So Lynn played the Cathedral here, and it has this symbol that looks like a shield with a cross on it. What that means is it cannot be affected by other cards' abilities. So she has taken the 5, which is the most valuable card that the cathedral or the castle could be played on, and unless someone has a card specifically that could counteract that defense ability, which there are some neutral cards that can, though none of them came up this game, so probably not. This is going to be her card till the end of the game. Then I played the Enchantress on the 9, which is the most valuable card out there, and the Enchantress negates instant effects from cards played diagonally from her. So the only way Lynn could change the Enchantress over is by playing here on the 2. She could not play on the 3 and do any ability. So that's what I am hoping for, is that it will somewhat protect her, though actually it probably won't.
I'm going to play, I don't know.
Well, what's he called in Italian?
Storico.
I think that's the storyteller.
Yeah, he's got like a quill. I'm going to play him here, so then both of these flip.
Oh, clever placement. So now what really stinks about that is I'm not going to be able to flip any of them from here. So the storyteller, let me just show this ability to the camera here. He rotates and changes the allegiance of every card on this side of him. So playing him here where he was not affected by the Enchantress meant he turned the allegiance of both the citizen and the Enchantress to Lynn's side, which means if I play anything here, I will not be able to change their allegiance at all. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Queen. I'm going to play her on the number 4 here. Now what the Queen does is, you see she has the arrows facing in every direction with only one of them filled in. That means you pick one of the directions, and every card in that direction, she has the spin symbol there, you change their allegiance. So I'm going to put her on the 4 and pick the direction to the left, which means I will change the allegiance of both the citizen and the Enchantress to my side. And again, the Enchantress is still affecting that middle space. So now I think Lynn will not be able to get her back. We'll see.
Well.
That was a good play, right?
I'm going to play the Cardinal over here.
Interesting.
And I'm going to choose this way.
Oh, you did. You still did get her back. I think you just took it as an immediate affront that I had. Wow, interesting. I'm going to play the King over here on the 6. Now the King has an ability that can affect one of the cards on any side of him, and it's a destroy ability. So the way this works is I'm going to play the King here. I'm going to select the Cardinal. The Cardinal will be destroyed. Now I flip him face down, and he stays taking up that space through Lynn's turn, and then on my turn he will get discarded.
I am going to play the Tower.
Ooh.
On her.
Now the Tower, let's show that to the camera. The Tower has an interesting effect. You get to play it on top of a card you currently control, and then it becomes defended. So similar to the Castle and the Cathedral, it cannot be affected by other cards' abilities. So this card is now locked into being Lynn's for sure. So on my turn, I'm going to discard the destroyed Cardinal. He goes into the discard pile there. And then I get to play a card. So as Lynn played the Tower over her card there, that card is now totally protected, but that card's ability has been blocked, which means the 3 can actually be used again to have effects on, which is the reason we were avoiding it, was we weren't able to play any effects from that space. So being that it can be used again, I'm going to play the Minister there, and I'm going to affect the Storyteller to spin him to my side, because the minister can affect one card on any side of him to spin their allegiance.
I just see this chair behind you like spin around.
Nico is doing laps.
I'm going to play the Paladin and choose to affect him.
Now, this card does stay on the board until Lynn's turn when it's removed, but it does not count towards ending the game. So when I place a tile here, it will not end the game. It will get removed on Lynn's turn, and she will get the final play, which made that a very clever maneuver for her to do. So now I'm trying to decide what I will play here on the 7. I cannot play my castle there because the 7 does not have those particular marks. That makes it rather difficult for me. I could play... Let's see, I could play the general and destroy your card there, which might not be a terrible idea. Or I could play the artist and duplicate an ability, or I could, the necromancer wouldn't be very useful right now. All it'd do is let me steal the cardinal from the discard pile. That's not really going to help right now. But let's see, so over here in this area, you've got, I believe it's a paladin is on your side there. I wonder, is there an ability I could take that would get the paladin on my side? No, I don't think there is. That's the thing, is she can only steal from diagonally adjacent. So I think the best option for me is to play the general and destroy the paladin to get another turn out of this.
I'm going to play the saint.
Oh.
Which lets me turn these two.
Wow, that's actually, wow, very decisive there. Okay, so I'm going to remove this card here into the discard, and what am I looking at? So I'm looking at, I got 2 people adjacent to me that are, ooh. 2 people. Now, the thing is, the final card I play cannot be to destroy something. I'm not allowed to destroy something. So if I play the mage, he wouldn't destroy anything. Literally, the 1 is all I'm going to be able to get unless I can flip something. And if I put the princess down, the princess could spin the saint, but it would also spin the general and would leave me it would actually benefit Lynn more because odd take over the 6, but should take over the 7, so that wouldn't work. So I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to finish up the game by dropping the castle on the number 1, and then that will be it. And then we're going to count up points. Now the points are based on the number faces of the cards. So Lynn, how many points do you have?
Okay, I have 6 and 5, which is 11.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have the 3, which is 14, 18, and then 9 would be 27, I think. Terrible at math.
Yes, that is 27. Good job. You did very well in math. Whereas I have 8 for the citizen who's on my side, 9, 10 for the storyteller, 11 for the castle, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I have lost handily because Lynn managed to get a lot of high number cards there. Well done. Well played. Thank you. And now we're going to head back. I'm going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels. And we're going to get a second opinion from Lynn. Welcome back. So that was how you play a game of RRR, or Regality versus Religion Revolution. So this is not only a significant upgrade from RR, which I was already a fan of. I like the older version. But this is actually a pretty significant upgrade from previous editions of RRR, which is a little surprising to me. I mean, adding in the numbers on the board, as well as adding in tons of new cards. There's lots more cards in the neutral cards. Plus, they changed around how some of the neutral cards acted. This almost could be given a new name, in my opinion, in the series. I mean, you had RR, then RRR. I don't know if it would be good to make it RRRR and figure out something that the last R stood for. But there's so much change that, like I say, I almost feel like it could be maybe called RRR squared or something like that. They already go with such a strange naming convention with the games in this series. But it really is. It really is a significant step up from previous editions of Regality versus Religion Revolution. The box is fine. Not much to talk about. It's a little tuck box. I do like that they added in. There's a little bit of space in here. Sometimes I have problems with tuck boxes with getting them closed again because usually they're super tight. This is actually the perfect size tuck box for a game like this, where it's very easy to get them back in the box. Let me just show you this in real time here. Not going to do any editing magic. The bottom of the box is glued in so the cards don't get stuck up in that, which is nice. You just slide them in, close it, and tuck it. And, you know, sometimes I'm not a fan of tuck boxes, but in this case, it's the perfect size for this game, and it actually works really well. And then this makes it very easy to travel with you to be a game, once things are open again, to play over at the coffee house or the pub. And this definitely fits the bill as a really good two-player coffee house or pub game. This is really cool for that. So the game mechanics themselves, which I've been very familiar with for a long time because I was a fan of RRR, the game mechanics are still really cool. I do like that. And I like that with this edition, you could still play RR. You could just remove the neutral cards. You could remove the number cards and just play the basic board. And you could just play RR with this and be super basic abstract strategy if you want. But also, of course, you can play RRR with this, the more advanced version, have the advanced version of RRR with the number cards out for the spaces, so it's no longer just about who has more spaces on the board at the end, but who has the more valuable spaces on the board, and also the 5 cards from the neutral deck that are different every time. And if you play a few games of this in a row, you should just, rather than reshuffle it, just put those 5 that you used last game under the deck and draw out a new 5, so you have totally new cards to play with. That makes every game really different. Much more so than you had in the previous RR, because in the previous RR, without those neutral cards, games would usually be different, but there could be some repetition. This really adds a whole nother element to this. Also being able to mix up the board and deal it out every time so that you have different parts of the board that are more valuable than others and are different than how they were set up last time, also makes every game significantly different. These minor tweaks are huge, and I do mean huge upgrades to the game system from previous editions. I really like it. So I was already a fan of the previous edition RR. I still have a copy of it in my collection that was produced by AEG, and I like it, and I was a fan of it, but this version is much better. I also like the use of the cards for the game board versus AEG used to have it printed with just like a fold-out paper mat, which felt kind of cheap to me. I didn't really like that. The cards for the game board actually look and feel much cooler, much better. I like this. This game is there is some randomness in the setup, but then once the game plays, it is a complete information abstract strategy game. It is your strategy versus your opponents. 100% down to you versus your opponent. There is no randomness in the actual gameplay. So if you win and you know it was all you, if you lose, you know it's all on you, and that is really cool. Yeah, this game is a lot of fun. If you enjoy tile laying games, area control games, because this does feel like a bit of area control, as well as abstract strategy games, this is a game for you. This is really awesome. So bottom line, I'm going to give RRR, at least this edition of RRR, because again, their older editions will not have the numbered spaces, and this edition also has more neutral cards in it that did not exist in previous editions. This edition of RRR, I will give 8 out of 10 stars because I thoroughly enjoy this. I love the strategy elements to it. I love the tactics in it. I love the area control. I love the new numbers added to the board. Yeah, there's not, I don't really have much negative, except that sometimes while learning it can get a little confusing with all the symbols on the neutral cards. But if you take a minute before every game just to look up each neutral card you're not familiar with and double check what it does, you'll be fine. So that's not really even that big a negative. The production is nice. The rules are great. I really like this version of RRR. I think it blows the previous edition of RRR completely out of the water. I'll probably never play it again. This totally replaces it for me. And also, I did not have an edition of RRR in my collection right now, but if I had the previous edition that did not have the numbered cards to play for the board, I would probably sell that now too, because this is really head and shoulders above that. It's everything that edition was plus more. So really great. 8 out of 10 stars for me. But let's get a second opinion from Lynn. Lynn, how many stars out of 10 would you give to RRR?
7.
So Lynn is also quite positive with a 7, not quite as emphatic as I am at my 8, but this is definitely a 2 thumbs up review from us. Now, we've been playing this and we quite like it. Both of us agreed that this was a really good game and we thoroughly enjoy it. And yeah, Lynn was saying to me, she's actually been kicking my butt up, down, left, right, and sideways. But then it's funny that I actually like the game better than her because I keep losing. But that's how you know when you really like a game, is that you keep wanting to play it even though you have trouble winning at it, which is my case with this game. So we can definitely recommend this game to you if you like tiling games, pattern forming games, area manipulation games, area control games. This has like all of that in it in a very streamlined, very fast to play package. It's a under 20-minute game where you fit in all of these mechanics in one very tight form, and that is really pretty cool. So I would say this is worth it to buy an import of. If what you saw in this review and tutorial sounds interesting to you, I would say it's definitely worth it to get this one imported, because who knows when they're going to make this edition for the Western market. But I got this one sent to me for free. Again, big thank you to XV Games for sending me this copy, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Is staying in my collection. I really like this one. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns either on the game of RRR or on this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial and you'd like to see me do more like it in the future, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.